I want you to picture the absolute freezing peaks of the Caucasus Mountains, just biting winds and the harsh sound of cold iron. That's exactly where I'm broadcasting this from. I'm Prometheus, and I've been watching you guys from this very rock for millennia. I think it's finally time we sit down and reflect on our shared history, just so you can truly understand why I'm still hanging up here.
See, I'm not being punished because I committed some horrible crime against the innocent. Actually, it's the exact opposite. I'm here because I dared to give hope to people who literally had none at all. And this isn't just some dramatic myth you read about in school. This is my harsh, everyday reality. Every single morning, this massive eagle swoops down from the sky just to tear into my immortal flesh. It's a terrifying, brutal routine. But honestly, it's the price you pay when you stand up to absolute power to save the powerless. Now, this eternal torture I'm going through, that's the price tag for what the gods back then considered the ultimate sin. And look, I didn't just break some minor rule, right? I stole the one profound secret that completely flipped the trajectory of the universe forever. Basically, I took away their total monopoly on existence itself. Let's rewind a bit. Centuries ago, your ancestors' reality was basically a cold, dark graveyard. You guys were living like frightened animals, shivering in the corners of these really damp, miserable caves, completely terrified of every little sound in the pitch black. Meanwhile, way up high in absolute golden luxury, the arrogant gods were just lounging around in their palaces. They were hoarding the supreme power of existence entirely for themselves, the sacred fire. Zeus looked down at you as these lowly creatures meant only to submit. He honestly believed that keeping you completely ignorant and freezing in the dark was the best way to protect his throne. But while the rest of those gods looked down at you with total disdain, I looked at you differently. I could hear your children crying in the dark, and as a Titan, I have the gift of foresight. I can see past the immediate present. So I didn't just see insignificant creatures down there, I saw this sleeping spark of genius inside of you, just waiting to catch fire. And the moment I realized that, a massive rebellion ignited in my heart, a kind of rebellion that absolutely no Olympian law was ever going to extinguish. I made a choice right then and there. I absolutely refused to let humanity just die off in the shadows. That was my final decision. Now, I knew perfectly well that helping you meant declaring an all-out war on Zeus. And thanks to my foresight, I knew exactly what kind of hellish punishment was waiting for me. But looking at how much you were suffering, the choice was a no-brainer. There was no way I was going to let you fade into the darkness. So how did I do it? Well, it wasn't some flashy magic trick. It was a very carefully calculated heist. I waited for this pitch-black, moonless night, and I literally crept like a ghost through the golden corridors of Mount Olympus. I had to hold my breath just to slip past Zeus's massive guards. Finally, I made it to the eternal workshop of the gods, grabbed a single intensely glowing ember, stuffed it deep inside a hollow reed, and just ran. As I was sprinting back down to Earth, I was literally carrying the entire fate of humanity right there in my hands. And then it happened. The very first spark of human fire. The exact second my feet hit the dirt, I snapped that reed and touched the ember to some dry wood. And boom! Suddenly the darkness just shattered. I remember watching that warm yellow glow reflect in your pale, wide eyes. You were totally amazed. That was the exact moment your absolute terror of the dark finally started to melt away. The awakening was instantaneous. You stopped shivering right away, you figured out how to cook your food. Next thing you know, you're smelting metals, turning yourselves from victims of nature into the actual makers of your own tools. You started building these sturdy shelters, and pretty soon after that, writing down the very first words of knowledge. So fire wasn't just about getting warm, right? It was the ultimate catalyst for the human mind, for technology, and for civilization itself. And I got to watch, so incredibly proud, as you rapidly evolved from prey into the absolute masters of your world. But as you can probably guess, you really can't hide that much light from the heavens. I'll never forget the terrifying moment the king of the gods actually looked down from his throne. Instead of a dead black rock, he saw thousands of tiny fires twinkling all across the earth. Mount Olympus literally shook with his rage. He shattered the sky with explosive lightning. And just like that, the era of mercy was over in a flash. Zeus didn't just want to kill me, though. To him, death is a mercy that rebels don't deserve. So I was dragged violently out to the farthest edge of the world and bound by these unbreakable steel chains to these deaf, freezing rocks. And then comes the real kicker. That daily eagle attack I mentioned earlier, slowly devouring my liver while I'm completely, painfully conscious. And because I'm a Titan and I can't die, my body just heals and regenerates in the silent dark every single night, only for the whole agonizing process to start over at dawn.
It is a terrifyingly cruel system, perfectly designed for endless suffering.
So here we are. Thousands of years have passed. Suns have risen and set, your great empires have risen and fallen, and I am still hanging right here between heaven and earth, paying the price for your freedom with my own flesh and blood, day after grueling day. But you know what? Through all of this time, my eyes are still fixed on you, and I am absolutely overflowing with defiance. Seriously, I haven't spoken a single word of regret, not one.
But as I watch you today, I've got to admit I'm facing a pretty dark dilemma. The fire, and the knowledge that I stole for you, it turned out to be a massive double-edged sword. On one hand, you've used it beautifully to build modern hospitals, discover cures, and save countless lives. It's incredible. But on the other hand, you use that exact same knowledge to forge deadly weapons and drop bombs, literally burning each other to ash. And seeing that forces me to really confront what you've actually done with my gift.
So, it all comes down to this. Are you truly worthy of my sacrifice? Or are you going to use my sacred fire to just burn yourselves to the ground and return to the dark? As the harsh winds of these mountains howl